Welcome back, chess friends. Here we go, the final round of the 2024 Southwest Class Championships. We are sitting at a pretty good 5 out of 8 here in the last round with the black pieces and another strong player, our fourth international master in a row. I am Craig Hilby, a friend of mine and very tough player that really just smoothly outplayed me. You can see here the chess.com analysis, and he really just played an outstanding game. Not much to say. I a bit mixed up my opening, and we'll talk about that. That was really the story of this one. So here we jump in, makes the Catalan. First time we've faced this in this tournament. Very professional top opening, you see quite a bit. And I decided a lot of ways to approach this to capture on c4. Typically, it's this bishop whose duty it is to recapture this. So when white commits to going this way to g2, then it's often a good remedy to capture this pawn. So bishop g2. And again, quite a few moves here, but knight c6. I feel like this line gives some chances, depending on what white does. Exciting game, hoping to keep the pawn, essentially. Queen a4 is a little bit more drawish, but like I said, I didn't really play the best move. So let's see. Again, a few options here, but bishop to b4 was the move I played. Bishop to bishop to d2. Knight d5. Capture and capture. All of this has been played many, many, many times. But here I sort of tricked myself a little bit. I had even looked at this line before the tournament, not before this game specifically, but before the tournament. I did try to brush up on this and really kind of mix things up. So here I was going under the impression that moving our knight to c3 or perhaps a3 were the best moves here. And somehow I didn't recall that castling was appropriate. And I tried to think here, like, what's the difference? I thought it was knight c3, for example. And then I played rook b8, typical idea, trying for b5. Again here, knight c3 or maybe knight a3. And he did, knight c3. And I thought for a while and kind of played the standard in this line. The idea is to try to play these moves, rook b8, a6, and just keep the pawn here, supporting your c-pawn and keeping it, hopefully getting out of this up a pawn, while you kind of wait on other responsibilities. So knight e5, and this next move really decides the game. I really didn't play, I just didn't recall the best move, and in the heat of battle, I was trying to punish what I thought was maybe an inaccuracy. Instead, it was me, actually, that was mistaken. So let's start with the move I played, which was queen takes d4. This is only a subtle difference from the best move, so let's take a look. He played captures, knight takes, takes, and queen takes check, okay? Let's go back and actually see here what is the very best move, and that is just to simply castle, getting out of the pin in a similar variation where white captures, but the difference here, instead of taking on c6, white takes on c4. What's the difference here? Well, this one is completely equal and has just been played by many, many, many strong players. I saw games with Anand, Kramnik, Nakamura, all kinds of high-level chess. And the game goes on. The most likely result is a draw. But in our game, again, I here captured on d4, and he played the same take, and takes this pawn. Technically, we're a pawn ahead here for the moment. But when we play queen d7, then we're back to equal material. Really not trying to play bishop d7 where he takes this pawn. And we're just running into a lot of problems with one of the rooks to d1 eventually. For example, castles here, rook a d1, close to losing. So let's see the game. So he played in the game queen takes, I played queen d7, and then he played queen takes c4. Material equal, but there's a key difference here, which I was almost relying on from a distance, that I could take on b2. But when I arrived here, I realized that this was far too dangerous. Let's take a look at rook takes b2, rook f d1. Probably this rook is best. And when we move our queen, the real danger begins with queen c6, queen a8, and these type of moves. And you can really feel that black has just totally, for one pawn advantage that black has right now, is totally off balance, uncoordinated. This poor rook in the corner, and white is just much, much better. Perfect coordination. That didn't happen in the game, and instead of rook takes b2, I just played the safer move castles. Definitely the best, and here the engine giving still slight edge to white, but I realized now that this was going to be not a fun game. It's the last round, sort of a war of attrition. Everybody's a bit tired, and I just have this horribly weak pawn structure. And for those newer to chess, if you're thinking, Chris, is this really enough to be losing at a high level? That's losing? Yes, it is. Because this c7 pawn especially really is just a complete weakness and easy to pile up on the c-file. These pawns, eventually one gets taken for free, and he just simply plays b3. Having a bad structure is really a detriment at a high level. It eventually just leads to being down material. To mention also, the bishop getting to these light squares, is that some sort of counterplay? Never really amounts to much. There was some hint of something, but it never really comes to fruition, and almost just symbolic but not real. Rook a c1, rook b c8. Again, the opening mistake, queen takes d4, has really set me down this uncomfortable path. And if you would just for a moment kind of ignore the rule of thumb about these light squares being weak, everything else in white's position is just perfect. The two pawn islands, perfect. Beautiful rooks. The knight will make a jump and perhaps to the center or to a4, end up on c5, and just a good, healthy position. The only dream that black has is somehow using these weaknesses, but it's just not happening here. Queen e7, knight a4. Again, just perfect coordination. When your pieces are working together as a team, it's really a beautiful thing. So, knight c5. And perhaps here we could have played a little better. I did play rook takes d1, and maybe bishop d5 held on a little tighter. Not sure he just can play queen takes a6, rook a8. That looks like black is achieving something. So maybe this is where we should have gone. Queen a4, maybe? This would have been the best route to try, at least. But in the game, instead, we played rook takes rook, and then bishop d5. And this really isn't quite as good. And the problem is that there's now this back rank difficulty that we're running into. So f5, actually the best move. Again, e4 was a real problem. Really not able to play rook takes pawn due to this dangerous and really just devastating e4. e4 is devastating, with the knight guarding that. Now, anywhere that our bishop tries to move is just allowing all these back rank problems. So this is horrible move, but just to point out, let's say bishop a8. Nearly checkmate here. Only move is queen f8 and then rook d8. That's just game over. So e4 would have been a killer move. And again, kind of outwitting me with not being able to take the b pawn earlier, not being able to take the a pawn now, due to some overwhelming tactics. So all the positional pluses are in white's favor. h5, already feeling desperate, although the engine is not all the way up. I would maybe assess this like my disappointment was too high here. Maybe I should have kind of buckled down and played a little more calculated, more a little more sturdy defense. Just buckle up for a long grinding hold, hopefully to draw, but it's just so hard to do, and I thought it was worse than it is. So But I did like any old swindler might do is try to open a file, try to use somehow this bishop, maybe even dreaming of the rook one day, getting to the H file. F4, again, just wishful thinking. Queen D7, a really good move. Just trying to really put out the fire, kill any counterplay. And I can't actually avoid the trade here, whether we take it or maybe Queen D6 type moves. But for example, any other move, just moving your queen, runs into rook takes D5. And that's just lights out here because of the double attack on king and rook. Cannot allow. So I realize this is forcing a queen trade, essentially. We have to go that route. And again, just really hoping to get to some rook endgame where we can save it, or all the pawns get traded somehow. Even some rook and knight versus my rook, something like this. But my opponent does a good job and just doesn't allow really anything. So E4, finally this move does come, and it hurts right in the center. And slowly but surely, white is just improving their position. So also, my time was quite low. Really poor time management by me in this tournament. Maybe only 1-2 games out of the 7 where I was not really struggling to make the 40th moves. So rook h1 here, and that just allows kind of this invasion. White is already clearly up a pawn. It's a great pawn, protected passer. The knight is just well secured, an outpost. Everything is in white's favor here, the better king. So really any dreams of counterplay are just instantly extinguished here. So one check first, and then he proceeds to trap the bishop on a2. Really nothing to do here. If we had gone somewhere else with our bishop, then would come rook h6, and he takes this pawn. So hard to make any good suggestions here for black. I played rook d8, desperation, king c3, and resigned here on the 39th move. So really not a great game. Although the percentage was decent, this was, I felt like, the worst game I played as far as really contesting for the game. But it really all comes down to queen takes d4, not knowing my openings as well, kind of tripping over my own feet in the opening, and then not putting up good resistance, which is really tough against a strong international master. So kind of ended the tournament on a little bit of a down note, but I was definitely pleased with the whole 7 games that I played, especially with my kind of inconsistent tournament schedule. This was something that I was really happy to go up in points. FIDE and US chess rating will be going up. And overall, just great experience playing 5 IMs and 2 other strong players, and really just getting back into the competitiveness of calculation and struggling to hold games, to execute real plans against strong players is no easy task at all. So really love competing and playing in these events. I still feel competitive when I play, and just want to keep going, hoping perhaps maybe my best chess still ahead of me. So really hope that everyone enjoyed this recap of the tournament. I do have another tournament coming up in about 5 weeks or so. I'll be going to the big open tournament in Menorca, Spain. So really excited about that, my first international event, and I'll definitely be covering all of that. So thank you all again for watching. Really hope you've been enjoying this group of games and the channel as a whole. Again, really just trying to put out good educational chess content. I'm not always going to follow the top level games that are going on, the current events of chess, the drama of chess. You will not find that on this channel. So, albeit entertaining as it is, I'm really just going for more of the fun, educational, and interesting chess games and concepts. So hope that's what you're looking for. And everybody, I do appreciate it. Thank you all again, and we'll see you soon.